Leading up to this lesson, we have been building a Python script that we embedded in a custom node. Within that Python script is a whole lot of logic that is reusable. I mentioned very early on that we're eventually going to use all of this logic to make a template because, once again, I don't type all of this stuff every time from scratch. It is very important to kind of understand all of the logic just in case you need to type it from scratch, but more often than not, we're using a template. Take Revit, for instance. You're not starting from a blank file every time. You generally have levels, views, sheets, and things like that. Python's no different. By the end of this lesson, you're going to have a custom Python template for easy Python nodes to interact with the Revit API. The template is provided in the dataset with a .py extension, but it's also accessible at this URL on the screen now. You can have any number of Python templates that you'd like to use. This one's kind of my all-in-one boilerplate that I tend to use all the time. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and open up our browser and take a look at a few things as well. In our previous lesson, I mentioned Notepad++ as a text editor that I tend to use with Dynamo when viewing Dynamo settings files, Dynamo files, and so on. In this case, Notepad++ is available at the URL above. It is linked in the dataset, and I just recommend downloading the latest version. In this case, it's going to be 8.4.5 at the time of this recording. For the Python template, this is included in the dataset or at the URL linked in the dataset. It does generally have all of the things that we're going to be using within the Python script. So in this case, we have the import statements already in there, all the ones that we typically use. We're referencing Revit nodes, Revit services, we're unwrapping elements. So we learned about unwrapping in a previous lesson. We have a transaction in here already. We can even add a for each statement if we wanted, but this will start to get you there pretty quickly. Easiest way to use this is to go ahead and navigate to this raw button and we can save this. Once again, generally speaking, I like to save these kind of files in a place that Dynamo accesses by default. So in %appdata %, we have access to our roaming app data. We can go to Dynamo Revit 2.13. So in this case, I can go ahead and create a folder in here called Python templates. I'll just do it with a camel case and we kind of have that going here. So in this case, we have our Python templates folder. So I'll go ahead and copy this path. In my browser, I'll do save as. I'll paste that path and I'll just remove the .txt extension. Clicking save will go ahead and save this Python template for me. And now with Notepad++, I can actually edit this in Notepad++. Notepad++ is nice because we do have access to some of the color coding to help make this clear. If we navigate back a folder, we can also right click on the Dynamo settings file and we can edit this in Notepad++ as well. In this case, I want to add this Python template to line 41 Python template file path. Your line numbers might vary a bit, so you can actually search for Python template and it will take you to this file that you need. So in our Dynamo settings.xml, we're going to go ahead and finish off this Python template file path that we have access to here on this section. So I'll remove this / at the end, copy that line, and this would get a / at the beginning of Python template file path. In this case, I'll just go ahead and use some of these other lines with strings because we need to tell the settings file that this is a string value. I'll delete this. And that path that we want to copy is actually going to be in that roaming Dynamo folder. So roaming, Dynamo Revit, 2.13, Python templates. I'll go ahead and copy this as a path by holding down Shift and right clicking. Copy as path. And I'll remove the quotes. And we now have that as a Python template. I'll go ahead and click save on the Dynamo settings. And back in Revit, when we open Dynamo, it will now load those settings for us. We'll go ahead and click on new, and I'll make this bigger. And now when we place a Python script, we should have access to that new template that we saved. When you first place a Python script, it does take a moment to load, so something to keep in mind. And there we have it. We have all of the default things that we included in that template come through. This is very useful for you to be able to use this to create these Python scripts very quickly. You can also save a few different ones in there and toggle between them, and there's more documentation about this on the Dynamo primer. There's a link included in the dataset for this lesson for the primer, and I encourage you to check that out in regard to Python templates. So there we have it. We've worked through creating all of that Python script. We've bundled it, worked with lists, and we finally ended up with a template that we can reuse to add more functionality to Dynamo within Revit. I want to thank you for working through the lessons, and I encourage you to keep on trying, keep on making cool things with Python, and good luck for the rest of your Dynamo journey.